Hey guys, welcome to another Piano Live lesson. Today we're going to be learning Someone Like You by Adele.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, so Someone Like You by Adele. You're an Adele fan?
I am a big Adele fan.
Yeah?
I think she's great, especially for what you have out there for top 40 kind of pop music.
That's true.
She's up there.
Yeah, she's definitely up there in terms of talent, and she's got a lot of great piano ballads. This is probably the top among them, from in my opinion.
This might be the most popular one.
Yeah, I'm not that. I gotta check out her new album.
Oh, you heard of Hello?
I've heard Hello.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, that's the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Someone Like You. It's a fairly simple song, but there's a lot of arpeggios in it and a lot of emotions in it. Those are the two things to bring to the table if you want to do this song. So it's in the key of A major, which consists of the notes F sharp, C sharp, and A sharp. So A major. And the verse progression and the chorus progression are the exact same chords. There's slightly different arpeggio shapes, but the chords for the bulk of the song are A major, and then we have, I guess they're slightly different. The chords in the verse are A major, and then we play a. This is basically a C sharp minor chord, but it's in second inversion. So here's our C sharp minor in first inversion, or in root position. So C sharp, E, G sharp, and then we move that up 2 positions. So that's our chord in the right hand. The left hand plays the G sharp as the bass for the verse here. And then it goes down 1 step here to hit F sharp. And then we have just a straight F sharp kind of open fifth, or like a power chord, you might call it. And then we have a D major chord. And that's also in second inversion. So here's our D major root position, D, F sharp, A. There's first inversion, there's second. So again, we have A major triad, C sharp minor triad in second inversion, F sharp open fifth kind of octave situation going on in the right hand, and then a D major triad. So that's the chord shapes, but it's, and I'm just played them solid there to demonstrate them, but the bulk of the song kind of has this continual arpeggiated broken pattern with all the chords. Right. So the left hand luckily is super simple. The left hand is just holding whole notes basically for every chord. So I'm going to play the verse progression kind of as it is in the recording here. Yeah, so playing kind of this 8th note pattern in the right hand, 2 bars each for each chord in those verses. Why don't we do it at 90, and then we'll do it at 135, because 135 is like the performance tempo. But we'll slow it right down. If you're new to this, just remember to keep your hands nice and rounded like this when you're playing your triads. Don't resist the urge to flatten out like that.
Right. And one thing I will mention as we're going through this, if you are a member, feel free to send in any questions that you have, and we'll talk about those later.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so here it is at 90, verse progression. Here we go. Now we switch right here. F sharp. Yeah, so just bear in mind the fingering motions that I'm doing. You'll notice how really the first two chords, I'm not really having to move much at all. I just have to move my thumb down. One semitone. So there's my A, and there's my C sharp minor. The next chord, I have to do a bit of a reshuffle because I got to go with my thumb down to hit my F sharp. My middle finger is still going to be on C sharp, and then my pinky kind of stretches up to hit the octave. So that's kind of the biggest shape in the verse there. And then it's a nice little quick movement to get to D. All you do is take your thumb back up to A, and your middle finger just slides up one semitone to hit D. All right, so I'll try it again, this time at 135. So this is closer to what the track sounds like on the recordings.
Just let me get to it here.
No worries.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so that's pretty simple. That's kind of the thing that's like the bedrock of the song. So spend a lot of time practicing those broken shapes. Because now we're going to take those broken shapes and we're going to apply them to a bit of a different progression that is it's like a pre-chorus kind of little moment here. So the chords are as follows. We want to go down to our E chord. So I'm playing my E in the bass, and I'm playing my E triad in first inversion up here. So again, it's this kind of do-do-do-do-do-do-do kind of motion. Only this time, it's only one bar each. So it's like this. So those are the three chords. I'll go over what they are. Yeah, so we had E. The next chord, all we're going to do is pop up our bass note one whole tone to hit that F sharp again. And now we're playing, you can kind of consider this an F sharp minor 7, because we have our F sharp in the bass, and then the right hand really just plays that A triad again. But because we have that F sharp in the bass, sounds quite a bit different than this. Right. Here's A major, just basic triad. That adds a lot more kind of color and
some depth.
Yeah, some of that classic Adele emotion.
Oh yeah.
So we got E, we got that F sharp minor 7, and then we go down to D in the bass, and we just play a D major triad in first inversion. So now we're playing F sharp, A, and D. Again, E, F sharp minor 7, D. And the way there's kind of an out of time, a little lull in the tempo to get to the main chorus. So it kind of lingers on this D chord, and then it kind of just floats up on the E. So you kind of like, the way I interpret it is I just play a D chord, and then just leaving the D in the bass, I just kind of move up one step to play my E triad. So here's that shape. And then that brings us to the chorus.
And you're not following with the bass, that D, you're not.
No, you leave that D in. I mean, you can, like, it's not going to sound wrong or bad if you follow the E up. But just to kind of, if you listen to the recording, it's sort of a subtle little motion. So
yeah, it does feel like it adds a certain dynamic change.
Yeah, it kind of adds this little suspense almost or something. Yeah. So let's try that progression at 90, and then we'll do it at performance as well.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4.
kind of hard to do that, slowing down things with the
it's hard to
metronome.
just, drift. But yeah, so let's try it at 135 now.
Sure thing. Go.
Last time. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so that brings you to the next part, which is going back to that original chord progression. So going back to that A. So it's very close to the same chord progression. We have our A chord. Instead of considering this next chord a C sharp minor, it's going to be an E now. So rather than having your left hand go from A to G sharp, you want to just go right down to E. So A to E, and then you go back to F sharp, and then D. And the other difference with this progression is it's only one bar of each chord as opposed to two in the verses. So I'll show you it, and then we'll break it down. So yeah, it sounds pretty similar, the piano part to the verse, but instead of using our broken chord shape in just triad form, now things have stretched out quite a bit. So I'll just go over the right hand here. So the right hand, remember in the verse, our top note was E, so that just makes a basic triad. Now our top note's the A octave above. So it's the same two bottom notes, but it's just quite a bit more dramatic because it's got that high octave. The next chord that happens is this E chord. So again, we're moving down to the E in the bass. And all that I do to reflect that E triad in the right hand is play G sharp, B, and then the octave. Right? So A to E. And now, to play that F sharp minor chord, F sharp obviously in the bass, and the right hand's actually the same as the first chord. So the right hand is, you're playing that same A shape. So A to E to F sharp minor, and now we go to D, so D in the bass. And the right hand just makes a very subtle change. Instead of playing your pardon me, I keep getting these mixed up. Your C sharp, you want to play a D. So again, that whole A to E to F sharp minor to D again. So you want to try it at 90?
Sounds good.
Okay. I think I realized that I was playing. Okay, I'm going to play with quarter notes. I think I was playing, yeah. F sharp minor. And repeat. Okay. So let's try that at 135.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that chorus progression has kind of two repetitions. There's sort of like it's the same chords, it's just slightly different arpeggio shapes in the right hand.
Okay.
So you'll notice the first two repetitions of that progression. I'm going back up here. And then I just do that quick little shift with the pointer finger. And then repeat that. So that's half the chorus. And the second half is just very similar, just a little different. Then back up. Now here's the change. It's a really simple, like almost inconsequential little movement, but instead of playing the high A, I'm just playing a basic D major triad. So my highest note goes from being the A to the F sharp. And then repeat that. Back up, and then to this lower. So that's the verse. Now then, in the pre-chorus, and that was the chorus there.
Right.
The next thing that we're going to look at is kind of this little mid-song bridgey thing.
Okay.
And this kind of has
Is
the
that
most
the technical term?
Yeah, the mid-song bridgey thing.
I like it.
That's I think Beethoven coined that. Yeah, so this is kind of has probably the weirdest root note to right-hand chord shape relationship in the song, but it's still pretty simple. It's still using that same bottom, middle, top, middle kind of motion. Right. So here's what it looks like. We play a B in the bass. Well, I'll demonstrate it first. Oops. So I'll do that one more time. So it kind of has that drifting out of time sort of ending again.
Right.
So the chords move around as follows here. And I'll just play them as block chords first. So in the bass clef, we have a B down here. In the right hand, we're playing an E chord, but it's in first inversion. So it has that kind of unique, sort of an uncommon sound in music, because the fifth note is actually what's anchoring things, which is kind of weird, kind of cool. So we have that, and then our left hand just moves up one whole tone to C sharp, and our right hand reflects a F sharp minor triad. So it goes from this E to F sharp minor, which is A, C sharp, and F sharp. So we have that, and then we move up to D in the left hand. The right hand makes a very simple shift again. This F sharp minor chord becomes a D by just taking our C sharp middle note and moving that up to D. The next one's kind of interesting. The next sequence of chords is sort of a quick little flow here. So our left hand's going to go down to B. our right hand is going to play this high up kind of B minor triad with an octave on top. So we have a B, a D, and then up in the octave we have a high octave B as well. And now this next sequence of chords happens pretty quick, but the left hand moves back up to F sharp. Our right hand moves down to an A chord, so A, C sharp, octave A. And then our left hand moves to D. Our right hand reflects that change by just moving, just a simple chromatic movement in both hands actually. It's the same shift, so it's F sharp to D. And then finally we land on that E chord. So we just take this whole shape and we just pop it up one neighboring white note. So, and then we play an E chord. So again, I'll just walk you through all of these here because it's kind of complicated. So an E chord with the fifth in the bass. Now we play an F sharp minor chord again with the fifth in the bass. And then we kind of lift that up into a D major chord with a D in the bass. And then we jump up to a B minor chord with a B in the bass. And this lovely sounding chord here which is an A triad with the C sharp in the bass. Lift up these two chromatic notes here to make that a D chord, and then take this whole shape up one position to make it that final E. So let's bump it right down to 80.
Sure.
Because this is the most complicated part of the song. Yeah, I mean, it's not the most iconic part of the song, but it's still worth learning.
Of course,
yeah.
Of course.
Okay. So here we go. 3, 4. Yeah. So just pay attention, maybe break things down in your left and right hands, because the thing that's probably the most difficult part about that section is the fact that a lot of the root notes in the left hand are not, or the bass notes rather, in the left hand, are not the root notes of the chords.
Right.
Which if you're still kind of just getting your hands around, and your hands and your brains around, learning piano, typically that's something that it doesn't come super intuitive to voice your bottom bass notes in shapes that don't reflect that root really obviously. So this is a great example of something that'll be challenging, but it's totally within your grasp. And you know what? If you like something like that, just play along to the track. Even just hold the whole notes. Forget about the arpeggios.
Right.
Because that way you're familiarizing yourself with those shapes and how they relate and sound.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, so the final part of the song is kind of the home stretch. It's really like, it's just whole notes again of the verse slash chorus progression. So I don't even think we have to demo those to a click, but it's basically after you get out of that, after that bridge. this on just solo piano, you can kind of, like I usually start off at the first repetition of the after bridge section, just whole notes. And then to kind of build some intensity, you could just try switching over to half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's basically that pulse out. That's basically the end of the song is those chords out. So that's all the components.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if you want, you can, learn along to the sheet music as well. We have that provided. If that's more your style, or maybe some combination of the two.
Yeah.
It would be a good route. But yeah.
Very cool. Well, it's an awesome song. So, guys, if you have any questions, be sure to get those in. If you don't have any questions, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can always ask questions later in the forums or whatever, or Jordan.
Yeah.
We don't have any questions yet, but one of the things that kind of interested me, now, if I'm remembering correctly, is this song piano the whole time? Is it just piano? Or are there other instruments in it?
There's other, there might be like cellos or something. There's kind of, I think there's some subtle orchestration.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically a piano ballad. Like the whole thing is driving, like it's all that kind of rhythm. Yeah.
Okay, so then as something where quite often we're learning songs that have other members, band members, kind of coming along, does this offer its own kind of set of challenges because it's a piano-only piece, or focus so much on the piano, would you say?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. If you're playing this song with a band, you're definitely, the piano part as written is very rhythmic, right? So if you're playing it with a drummer or something, you might want to, you could maybe tone back the eighth note arpeggios or something, and just kind of hold things out. I find, especially if you're doing something just solo here, or solo and even instrumental, and you want to kind of make something flow a little better, it might be a good idea not to do those whole those arpeggios all the way from top to bottom anyways.
Right.
Because then you kind of have this dynamic, ebb and flow, as opposed to just hammering away.
Right.
Yeah. At the beginning of the lesson here, when I got to the chorus, just to kind of give some contrast, because I know that the verse and the chorus use the same chords, I actually did the vocal melody with the on the piano there.
Right.
I went, oops. That's a very simple way to add some shift to your music, and that vocal melody is really simple, even though I keep messing it up, it seems. So it's all this kind of like working with the top couple notes of the A major scale, and that's a great thing to do. As an expressive choice, for making your music a little more your own.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very cool. And then one other thing I was also wondering is slowing down the tempo at certain points something that someone maybe learning this song should be doing, because obviously learning it along to a metronome is going to make that impossible.
Yeah. Right? That's a good question too. It's weird. I see a piece of music like this as being kind of inspired by, and I use inspired very loosely, but it's kind of got a bit of a classical, like, lineage, I guess you could say. I think most piano ballads tend to be, you can kind of play with tempo a little more than if you're just doing some like straight, plinky thing or something. Anything that has these kind of motions like that is actually a great opportunity to use your tempo as something a bit more creative than just this set of hurdles that you got to jump through. But yeah, as for practicing that kind of stuff, you can do it. You can just kind of like ignore the metronome at
and then
the
try
end
and
of your,
find it again.
and then try to find it again. That's a great technique, and a lot of times, I don't know if you've ever like recorded a song or something where like you have a click track going, and the actual song requires a moment where you got to kind of lay back a little bit.
Totally.
And it's a skill that musicians need to kind of develop, is just when to ignore that click and listen to the music.
Absolutely.
Right? So yeah, it's doable, but it's probably something best, go really slow at the metronome and then even lay back even further.
For sure.
When you're doing those little transitional moments.
Because it sounds very cool when you do it. The difference between playing some of those transitions along to the metronome and then without, when you were slowing it down, it's a very cool effect.
Yeah, it's less like jumping through hoops and more like actually using the music as your expressive thing.
Yeah, it was very expressive.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have any more questions, it looks like, so I think that's going to just about be it.
Cool. All right. That sounds very good. Thanks again for hosting.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining. If you do have any questions, just send them my way after the lesson, and I'll just do a little more Adele out here.
Sounds good.
Cool.
See you guys next time.